Hi, thanks for joining me for this special practice. For this class, we're going to be focusing on releasing tension in the upper back, neck, and shoulders with some self-massage techniques. For this practice, you'll need an extra rolled up yoga mat. If you don't have an extra mat, no worries. You can always use a rolled up blanket or a nice thick towel. You'll also need a yoga strap and you'll need balls. So you could use a tennis ball. One of my pet peeves with using a tennis ball though is because it's fabric covered, when you start to use it against a wall, it tends to slide up and down. I prefer racquet balls or pinky balls if you remember those from when you're a little kid. So either of those are fine. If you don't have them, tennis ball works great too. So we're going to start actually with just a little bit of a warm up for the shoulders. So we're going to begin using the strap. So when you're ready, grab your strap. And I'm actually going to do this seated, but you could certainly stand up if you prefer. But we'll take the strap and you're going to hold it comfortably wide. Depending on the length of your strap, you might be able to double up the strap or you may have to hold it open. But we'll start with the strap out in front of us and just taking the strap up overhead and reaching it back toward the wall behind you. Doing a little bit of shoulder flossing. So just moving up and down. And as you reach the strap toward the wall behind you, you might find that kind of tight spot at the front of the shoulders. Feel free to pause there if that feels really good and just hold and breathe. Otherwise, we're just going to move back and forth here. As you rotate your shoulders, try not to dip your head down or kind of jut your chin forward. We want to still stay seated up nice and tall or standing nice and tall if you're standing. And I just love the way that this feels in my shoulders. This is one of my go-tos when I'm feeling really tense. A lot of times when we sit at a computer or we do a lot of driving or a lot of reading, even texting, the muscles in the chest and shoulders tend to get tight because we tend to round our shoulders when we're doing those things. And doing a movement like this, where we take the arms behind us, just helps to start to open up the chest a little bit and release some of the tension in those muscles. So I'm just going to stay here and take a few final breaths before we move on to our next stretch. And whenever you're ready, just bring that strap back down and release. We'll set that off on the side. We're actually done with the strap. And then if you did sit down, come and stand up and find a corner. So you want to be at a wall space where there's a corner. You could also use a doorway. So I'm going to turn away from you. I'm going to bend my elbows about 90 degrees and I'm going to place my forearms on the wall. And then with one foot, doesn't matter which one, I'm just going to step forward toward the corner of the wall. And this just gives me a really nice stretch across the front of my chest and shoulders. And as I said, you could do this in a doorway with either arm on a door frame. Just taking a couple more breaths. And then I like to do this again with my arms out wide. So now I'll take my arms out to the sides. My hands are at about shoulder height, more or less. And then same thing again, I'm going to step forward with one foot, moving toward the corner. So just get a nice stretch down the front of my arms and across the front of my shoulders. Just staying here for a few breaths. And then whenever you're ready, moving back and maybe circle the shoulders a little bit. And it's time to grab a ball and we'll do a little bit of massage standing at the wall first. So take one ball. Now for this, I prefer a more firm ball because when you're standing up and have the wall behind you, you have a little bit more control with the leverage and the amount of weight that you're pushing into the ball. So I'm going to start with this. You're going to find your trapezius. Now your trapezius muscle goes from the base of your neck out to your shoulders and then down to the middle of your back. It's a big diamond shaped muscle. So we're going to start with the part that tends to carry tension in most people, right behind the mid shoulder. So we don't want to be on the bones. So kind of find where your scapula is, find where your spine is, and the ball is going to go right in between. And it doesn't matter which side you start on, we're going to do both sides. But what I like to do is take my feet nice and wide, and the further you walk your feet out away from you, the more you're going to be able to put pressure on the ball. So I like to just start here by shifting a little bit side to side or making little circles. It's really subtle. I'm not making huge movements, and I'm also not moving very quickly. Take your time with this. You're going to know when you find those spots that have some knots in them. Take your time there, and if you find a knot, you could even stop and just press into the ball where that knot is. Take a nice full breath in and release all the breath back out. Just let it go. So you have the choice as to whether you're just going to maintain pressure on that one spot, or if you'd rather gently move around it or over it. It just depends on the level of tension and the level of discomfort that it's causing you. So we don't want to make anything worse. So go gentle, tread lightly until you see what the after effects are like. So I always recommend starting with light pressure, and the next day, see how you feel. And if you're feeling okay, then maybe the next time you try it, you could do a little bit more pressure. But you notice I just reached behind me. All I did was move the ball down a little bit. And I'm staying in the space between my scapula or my shoulder blade and my spine. And just little tiny movements side to side to help me work through any tight muscles or little knots there. And little by little, what I'm going to do is just move the ball down. So moving it down little by little, still between my scapula and my spine. And I like to just shift myself a little bit left and right here. I could also bend and straighten my knees so the ball is rolling up and down my back. So lots of ways to play here, and what works for you is very individual. So you just want to keep playing around a little bit until you find something that works for you. We're going to stick with the upper back and shoulders today. So I wouldn't go any lower than, say, the back of your rib cage. That's about where the trapezius muscle comes to a point at the middle of the back anyway. And then what we're going to do is focus a little bit more on the outer corner of the trapezius. So after you've played here a little bit, you can take the ball, and remember your trapezius muscle goes from the base of your neck and it comes all the way out to the outer shoulder. So there's a spot out here. If you find your scapula again and you slide your fingers out toward your shoulder, there's a nice fleshy part, and I like to do a little bit of massage here too. So it's a little bit more toward the edge of your shoulder versus the spine. And just move around a little bit here. Again, this is one of those spots where everybody carries tension a little bit differently. Like for me, I like it down just a little bit more, and sometimes it takes a few different tries before I find exactly the right spot. And same type of movements, little circles, a little bit of rocking side to side, a little bit of bending and straightening my knees to move up and down. The idea here is just to move in a way that feels good. Find those tense spots and give them a little bit of gentle attention. And when you feel like you're done on one side, then we'll shift to the other side. So I'm just going to grab the ball. I'm going to start in the same space on the other side. So I'm finding my shoulder blade. I'm finding my spine. And I'm going to go right into that space in between. And again, I'll kind of hold the ball in place while I lean back against the wall. One side might be significantly more tender than the other side, so tread lightly. And again, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time here kind of rocking side to side, bending and straightening my knees. Or if I find a really tense spot, it just is a little too uncomfortable for me to do movement, I might just stay there and breathe and focus on relaxing as I exhale. So just taking a nice full breath in and softly letting all of your breath back out. And then you can always move to a little bit of rocking or shifting again. Feel free to move the ball up or down depending on what you're finding. So again, one side may be different than the other, so don't automatically place the ball in mirrored image sides. So don't automatically place the ball like it's a mirror image. And just spending a little bit of time here. And again, little by little, I'm going to start moving the ball down my spine, still staying in that space between my scapula and my spine. I'm going to kind of hold the ball in place here so you can see where I'm working now. So I've got it right about there. And again, this is one of those places where I like to bend and straighten my knees a little bit. I might rock side to side. If I need less pressure, I'll keep my feet closer to the wall so I can't push into the ball as much. If I want more pressure, I can walk my feet out a lot and really lean into the ball. So play around a little bit, see what's working for you and your body. I could literally spend hours doing this. In fact, I keep a couple of these balls in my nightside table right next to my bed. And oftentimes right before bed, I'll put on some really nice calming music and I'll spend about 20 minutes or half hour just working out the kinks in my back and neck. So whenever you feel ready, you could move the ball a little bit up or down. Keep shifting it around space by space, focusing your attention on those tight spots. And again, if they feel really uncomfortable, you could make a little circle around them. You don't have to go right on top of them. Just getting in that same area will increase the blood flow and it just helps to get nutrients into those tight muscles. So whenever you're ready, we're going to focus a little bit more on that outer corner of the trapezius. So again, taking your fingers, find your shoulder blade, and you're going to come to the outer portion of the shoulder blade this time. So it's between your shoulder blade and the shoulder itself. And again, it takes me a little bit of time sometimes to find the spots where I need to focus. I might have to pick up the ball and put it back a couple of times. Oh, right there. Just found it. But a little bit of movement, you can move your shoulder, you could move your knees so that you're shifting up and down, you can go side to side. There are really no rules here. This is just you exploring a little bit to see what feels really good in your body. And as you start to feel a little bit more relaxed through your trapezius, then we're gonna come down and have a seat so we can focus a little bit on our neck. So before you do that, take a moment and just see how you feel through your shoulders already. Notice any shift in sensation in blood flow. And then when you're ready, just come and take any comfortable seat. Of course, if you need to sit up on something, if you'd rather be in a chair, that's just fine. For this is another reason I like kind of a grippy ball. I'm going to actually switch out the pinky ball for a racket ball because it has a little bit more texture. It's kind of like a pencil eraser. And then, well, we're going to focus on the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and that runs from just behind your ear, down along the side of your neck, and forward where it attaches at your collarbone and at your sternum. So we're going to take the ball, and because it's grippy, what I'm going to do is just press it gently against my skin. I'm going to slide my skin side to side. I find for me, the tension tends to sit in that kind of midway point down my neck. So you're just going to use the ball again to slide the skin side to side. You could go a little up and down, and you can make little circles. So you're just using the grippiness of the ball to kind of grab your skin and slide it back and forth over the fascia and the muscle underneath. Take your time with this. This is another one of those places, like I just found a knot, and I'm just going to press the ball there gently. And I'm going to focus on my breath. And once you feel like that knot starts to give a little bit, then maybe you move to a new spot. Take your time with this. Play around a little bit. Side to side, up and down, little circles. Remember, you could go all the way up behind your ear. You could come all the way down just above your clavicle and do a little massage there. Everyone carries their tension differently, and it can be vastly different from one side of the body to the other. If you think about it, every time you grab a bag or carry a purse, you tend to start with the same hand holding it all the time. We all favor one side naturally, and that means that tension can sit in different ways in your body. And then whenever you feel ready, let's switch sides. But before we do, pause for a moment and just kind of notice again, what do you feel sensation-wise? Is there a little bit more blood flow? Is it warmer? Do you feel a sense of tingling or just energy flowing? And then whenever you're ready, just switching to the other side. So remember that muscle goes from just behind your ear and it comes down the side of your neck, wrapping forward as it goes to attach at the collarbone and at the sternum. So you're just going to grab that ball and use the grippiness of it against your skin to slide the skin a little bit. Oh, right there, I just found a knot. You're just sliding the skin a little bit side to side so that you can massage the knots underneath. And for this one, I think I'm just going to pause and just give a little gentle pressure with the ball and focus on breath. This is something that takes time and a willingness to explore. And then maybe just moving to a new spot. So remember, it could be a combination of just stillness and gentle pressure, or you may be moving the whole time. You might be making little circles or going side to side, or a little shift up and down. See if you can find what feels right in your body. Make sure you're not going overboard. Don't press so hard that you're going to be really sore the next day. Just taking your time here. Remember, you could go all the way up toward the back of your ear. And you could also come all the way down just above your collarbone. Oh, right there, I just hit a nice knot. I'm going to pause there again and breathe. As you exhale, see if you can focus on the muscle you're trying to relax and imagine someone untying little knots in there. And then whenever you feel ready, we're just going to take a break here. You can move your shoulders around a bit and just notice how you're feeling. Notice underneath your jaw, along the sides of your neck. See if that massage you were just doing kind of translates elsewhere in your body. Do you feel it more in your chest, your shoulders, your neck, your jaw? And then whenever you're ready, we're going to focus a little bit on lying down and working with the upper trapezius. So if you found that first space that we were working with against the wall between your shoulder blade and your spine, up high on your shoulder, if that was a really sensitive spot for you, you might want to go back to the wall and work there. If you feel like you want a little bit more pressure, then we're going to lie on the floor. So I'm just going to move some of these props out of the way for a moment. And as you come to lie down, you could use either the pinky ball or a racket ball or a tennis ball, whatever you've got. And again, I'm going to kind of find that meaty part between my shoulder blade and my spine. And I'm going to hold the ball there as I come and lie down. And quite honestly, just that alone might be really tender, in which case you may want to shift back to the wall, or you may want to just stay here and breathe. That's usually where I begin, is just coming to my breath, Noticing what level of sensation there is, and then deciding, do you want to just stay here and make some really small, almost micro movements with your shoulder? And then another thing you can play with is taking your arm down by your side. So I'm working on my right side first. I've got my right arm down by my side. And then really slowly, and I want you to watch how slowly I'm moving here, I'm going to start to lift my arm. And as I move my arm, I'm targeting slightly different areas of muscle as my muscles move around the ball. So I'm just lifting my arm up. And again, if you find a tight spot, like right here, feels pretty intense. So I'm just going to stay here for a moment and breathe. And as I feel ready, I'll continue to lift my arm. You can stop at any point. Everyone's level of sensation and everyone's range of motion is going to be different. So really, really slow movement here. And I'm going to reach almost all the way up overhead. And then I'm going to bring my arms slowly back down by my side. So same thing, you'll see that my arm is moving incredibly slowly. If I find a spot like right here, there's another spot where I want to just stay and breathe for a couple of breaths. So I'll just let my arms stay in that spot and focus on breathing in and releasing, relaxing as I exhale. And then when I feel ready, I'll just move on again. Floating my arm really slowly back down my side, by my side. Oh, there's another knot. So again, I'm going to pause here. And then just bringing the arm all the way back down. And just take a moment here to let yourself be and rest. And this is a good time. You can, if you feel like the ball is in the right spot for you, you can just stick with that one spot. If you feel like you need to make a little adjustment, like I want to move the ball down a little bit, I feel like that'll target a little bit more of my tightness, then make a little adjustment to the ball. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing again. So very, very, very slow movement, stopping whenever I need to. So right away, I just hit a spot. I'm just going to rest my right hand on my right thigh while I focus on my breath. When I breathe in, I can really feel my breath right against the ball. And then just continuing whenever you're ready. You might not pause at all. You might just do this really slow movement of the arm, or you might find that you pause a dozen times. It really just depends on your body and how you're carrying tension in it. So in addition to this movement of just taking the arms straight up and down, you could also start to circle your arm. You can go out to the side. So again, my right arm, I'm taking it out to the right side. You could take your arm and slowly bring it across your body. Whoa, there's a tight spot right there. I'm just going to pause and breathe. And then I can continue taking my arm across my body. So again, really small, slow movements, lots of exploring, really tuning into the feedback you're getting from your body. And the circles don't have to just be in one direction. You could stay in one spot and move through a little arc. You could reverse directions and start coming back around the other way. So again, really just playing, and then you might get to a point where you almost feel like you're conducting an orchestra with that right arm. Just moving it around in space, noticing how different movements feel, and just allowing those movements to massage your muscles against the ball that's underneath. And whenever you feel like you're ready, we're just going to reach underneath and grab the ball and just give ourselves a break for a moment. Just come down and rest. As you come to rest, it might be interesting to observe whether you feel like one shoulder is dropped a little closer to the floor or making better contact with the floor. And when you feel ready, we'll switch and do the other side. You can just do the other side. I'm going to come up and over so that the side I'm working on is closest to you. So again, to help you find that placement, finding the bony part of your shoulder blade, finding your spine, and we want to be in that meaty part right in between. And this side might be different from the other side, so you might need a slightly different placement. And I'm just going to pause here to start with. And right away, you can shift around a little bit. So if the ball didn't land in a spot where you feel like it's tight, you could always make a little adjustment. And then just pausing here to breathe. Noticing how it feels on this side. Same, different. How does your breath feel when you inhale and exhale? Can you feel any movement of your shoulder blade area around the ball? And as you feel ready, if you feel ready, you can take your left arm down by your left side or just opposite side. And we'll begin on this side. So I'm just going to start to really slowly lift my left arm up. And I just know in my body, I don't tend to carry as much tension on the left side as I do on the right. So this isn't quite as tender as it was on the other side. Really slow motion, almost like you're going to do a backstroke. And then just pausing and slowly moving your arm back down by your side. And I just had a spot there where I want to stay, so I'm going to leave my arm in this position and take a couple of breaths. Inhaling through my nose and focusing on relaxing that tension as I exhale. And then letting my arm continue its journey back down by the side of my body. And you may have noticed on the other side, I stopped a whole bunch of times. On this side, I don't feel like I need to do that. So it's more of a fluid movement on this side without a lot of stop and go. And then I am going to adjust where the ball is a little bit. Feel free to do the same if you need to. I just want to put it someplace else so I can see if I can get into those muscles a little bit better. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, starting to lift my arm and yep, found one of those tight spots right there. And I'm just going to pause and breathe. So this is not something you rush through. This is something you really take your time with. It can almost be like a meditation, a mindful meditation, as you really investigate and get curious about what you're experiencing here. Remember, at any time, you could always take the ball and move back up against the wall where it's less intense. You can do all these same movements standing up. And this time, I'm going to start to sweep my arm more out to the side here. Left arm, I'm taking it out to the left side. And then I am going to sweep my arm around across my body. Oh, and there's one of those tight spots. So again, I'm going to pause here and just breathe. Nice full inhales and exhales. Really think about softening. And it's always interesting to notice when you're doing something like this, does tension creep into other parts of your body? So are you gritting your teeth? Are you thrusting your tongue into the roof of your mouth? And just allowing yourself to now start exploring. So you've got a good feel for where the massage feels good. And again, don't have to do the same moves on one side that you did on the other side. And just kind of floating your arm around in space, almost like you're conducting an orchestra. And just noticing what kind of sensation is happening, noticing when you need to back off a little bit. But really taking your time and exploring. Getting to know your tension and getting to know what works for it so that you have some tools in your toolbox for when you're experiencing that upper back and shoulder and neck tension. All of these muscles are interconnected, so getting a little bit of looser through your shoulders often translates into feeling more comfortable in your neck or in your back. And as you come toward the end of your exploration, I'm just going to reach over and take the ball out from underneath and just come to rest again. And it's always remarkable to me how much closer my shoulders feel to the floor after I've done that massage. Just observing for a moment. And then we're going to focus on the neck. So with the neck, what I actually like to do is hold the ball in one hand, and I like to kind of cup my hands behind my neck. And I'll start right at the base of my skull and just start to shift my head a little bit left and right. And just like we were doing with the upper back and the shoulders, you're just going to make little adjustments as you feel you need to. So I'm going to take the ball and move it more toward the left of the base of my skull and just focus on rocking my head a little bit left and right here. And I've just got the ball cupped in my hands. And remember, you could always do this standing against the wall. If it's uncomfortable to have your hands behind your head like this, you may grab a yoga block, or you may grab a couple of blankets and roll or fold them up so that the ball is lifted a little bit higher. And then I like to just rock my head a little side to side, a little diagonally. And then I'm going to focus on the other side, just moving the ball to the other side. I'm still cupping one hand in the other. And I'll just move the ball to wherever I feel like I need it. And I just know in my own body, I tend to carry more tension on the right side of my body. So I need a little bit lighter pressure on the right side. I need to be a little less direct with the knots that I find. They need a little less pressure. And just really taking your time here. Now, if this feels really good, I'm going to ask you to keep going. If this is a little too intense, I want to show you an alternative. I'm going to trade in the ball for that rolled up yoga mat or blanket. And I'm going to come and lie down so that the back of my skull, or the base of my skull, is right against that rolled up yoga mat. You can play a little bit. You'll know when you find the right spot. And then what I like to do is just spend a little bit of time resting here. And then I'll begin to, just like I did with the ball, I'm going to shift my head left and right. And if your muscles are really tight, you might feel that you're rolling over those thick bands of muscle. If you find that you want to work a little bit more on one side, I would like to focus on my right side more. I'm actually going to pick up my head and turn it a little bit more to the right so I can focus on the right back side of my neck. And again, I'm just making this little no motion. And as I do this, I can feel that really tender, tight muscle is kind of rolling over the rolled up yoga mat. So I'm just giving myself a little bit of a massage here just by shifting my head left and right. And as I mentioned earlier, I tend to carry more tension on the right side. So I'm going to stay focused on the right side, but at any point you could pick up your head and turn to the left and give the left back of your neck a little bit of attention. I think I'm going to stay with my head turned to the right though, because that's where I feel like I need it today.
If you're using the rolled up yoga mat, one of the other things you can try is, because it's grippy, you could try sliding your head a little bit left and right. And the yoga mat should kind of grip onto your skin so that you can massage the tissues and muscle underneath. But again, this is all about you playing and exploring and seeing what works in your body. Feel free to move the rolled up mat. You can move it up a little bit higher. You could move it down a little bit lower. See how that feels. And at any point, you could just rest and just let the back of your neck drape on that roll. And oftentimes that alone can just release some of the tension that you feel at the back of your neck and your shoulders, the base of your head. And we'll just take another breath or two here. And if the roll that you have under your neck is comfortable, then keep it. Otherwise, I'm going to unroll this yoga mat a little bit so that the height of the roll matches a little bit more closely with the curve I have at the back of my neck. So I'm unrolling it about halfway. And then I'm going to come to lie down again so that the curve at the back of my neck has some support. And that's perfect. That feels great. And then just stretch your legs out nice and long. Arms and hands can rest wherever they'd like to rest. Just taking a moment here at the end to practice coming back to the breath. Noticing any after effects from your massage. And can you just let that rolled up mat or towel hold the weight of your neck and head just for now? Just for now. Can you relax through your neck, your head? Can you let the shoulders drop a little bit closer to the floor? Just staying with your breath for about 3 more inhales and exhales. And if you've got more time and you'd like to go back to do some more massage, then stay with it. If you want to stay in rest and Shavasana, feel free. And if you've got to move on with your day, then just bending your knees, bringing your feet flat to the ground. And when you feel ready, gently bringing yourself over onto one side and slowly back up to sit. And as you come to sit up, just taking a moment here to observe your neck, your shoulders, your upper back. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit more relaxed through those spaces of your body. And hopefully that translates into you as a person mentally feeling a little bit more calm and relaxed. Thank you so much for making some time and space in your day for self-massage. The light in my heart bows to the light in yours.